This is White Plains Week, the weekly news roundup. With your moderator, John Bailey, editor and publisher of the daily internet newspaper White Plains Citizen Net Reporter. Jim Benerofe, editor and publisher of SuburbanStreet.com and WhitePlains.com. And Peter Katz, noted broadcaster and journalist. White Plains Week. What's happened? Who are the newsmakers? And what's in store for the future? The views and opinions expressed on this program are solely those of the participants. White Plains Week is presented Fridays at 7:30 and again on Mondays at 7 p.m. here on Channel 76. Now, White Plains Week.
Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. White Plains in Westchester, and all you legislators and councilmen for life. Well, we know who you are. John Bailey, Citizen Net reporter here with the White Plains Week City News Roundup show with the anchor for all seasons, Peter Katz on my right, and the dean of the White Plains School of Journalism, Jim Benerofe. And right now, let's go to Jim Benerofe and the headlines.
And here are the stories for the week of November 6, 2015. Local elections set new low for turnout. 9 legislators ran unopposed. Milagros Lacuna, Nadine Hunt Robinson, Dennis Crowley win 4-year terms on Common Council. Republicans gain a seat and 2 new Republicans win terms in the legislature. Margin is 9-8. County voters approve Proposition 1, moving discussion of county capital budget to October. Discussion of general budget remains after the election. AAA recognizes White Plains with Traffic Safety Award, cites 33% drop in red light accidents. 2 men who allegedly shot White Plains residents in separate incidents in the last 2 weeks are apprehended and charged by White Plains police. The council will negotiate transferal of city cable franchise to Altice, seek settlement of Cablevision contract dispute. Water rates going up 8%. Hearings on the Black Bear and Copperface Jack's applications for cabaret licenses moved to December 7th. Frank Williams, Youth Bureau Director, recognized for 30 years of service with City. Councilman Kirkpatrick has concerns on White Plains Pavilion project as he's referred out to departments for comment. City approves contract for employment center at new Winbrook building. Will open in January. No word yet on when Winbrook tenants will move in. Salvation Army calls for Santa bell ringers. Santa comes to the Westchester Mall. Hollywood comes to Gedney Farms. Scenes for the movie Girl on the Train will be filmed on Macy Avenue. White Plains Hospital dramatizes the need for blood donors. Cats protest British survey on cat behavior as derogatory and a threat to cats.
It's not me. I didn't protest it. It's not me.
No, who did?
No, actually, I don't know that anyone has, but the story was that there was research done by the University of Edinburgh and the Bronx Zoo, and they determined that the house cat is just a small lion. But it's been bred as a companion to humans for so long that we don't have to worry about being eaten by our house pets.
Well, you know, there's no telling what. I mean, my cats were really upset about that when they read about it. Yeah.
They denied being lions. Did they?
They said they lied. Terrible hair.
Yeah.
And so,
well, you know, maybe you could get them a job sitting in front of the library.
Yeah. That's true.
You've heard of library lions.
Anyway,
we're going to break a record today, so I hear, if you believe the weather forecasters. Now, here in White Plains, we are expected to break a 130-year record this afternoon at about 3 o'clock when the temperature hits 72 degrees. That will set a new all-time temperature record.
Well,
right here in White Plains. How about that?
I know. I had the AC fired up this morning. It was so warm. Now,
130 years of records falling. Amazing.
so this global warming, might there be something to that? Who
Might
knows?
be. I don't know.
Meanwhile,
Anyway.
let's go to the low newsreel march of time on election week in Westchester County and White Plains, USA. And here's our opening slide.
Right there.
And there you have it.
My goodness, it's a campaign sign.
That's right, and we expect all those to be gone by the weekend, folks, or they should be cited for littering.
Yeah,
Yeah,
part of running for office should be a pledge that you have to send people out to remove your campaign signs after the election.
Yes, that could be good employment for the homeless too.
But I tell you, we have a temperature record. It sounds to me as if this past election set some sort of record for apathy on the part of voters.
In
John.
fact, that's the shocker of the week. Right here, right now. The White Plains has 34,270 registered voters, and only 3,662 appear to have voted. That's the top vote get in the council race.
What that says is that almost 90% of the registered voters, the people who could go out and have their voices heard in our wonderful way of doing things here in the United States of America, chose not to participate, not to be interested, not to exercise their right to vote.
Yes, and not only that, but the Republican Party only ran one candidate, and when they could have run three.
And you know what's even more amazing, John?
What's that?
Is that those numbers that you came up with demonstrate that when we have a school election for the school budget or members of the school board, only 5% turnout.
Yes. It's amazing.
Which means that 95% of the people here in White Plains just don't care. It's amazing.
Care.
I'm floored by this.
Yes, it's
never
disgrace.
used to be that way. Now, who do we blame it on? Do we blame it on the Times? Do we blame it on the Internet? Maybe we can blame it on Facebook. Who do we blame this on? If not
blame it on the bossa nova.
If not the people who just don't care.
Well, there was a thing to interject here. One thing. There was a suggestion by, I think, a New York State legislator to change the voting dates, or maybe it's a congressman, to change the voting dates to instead of on Tuesdays, have the voting on weekends, and that he thought that would help because he pointed out that the voting that takes place on Tuesday was originally done to accommodate farmers.
Okay.
When we were an agrarian society.
Well, that's a thought. I don't know the answer to that. So, some other things that are being tried in some of the western and midwestern states is extended voting, where you can mail in ballots, over a period of weeks or months.
Yeah.
But still, there was a time in White Plains. You remember this, Jim, from your days of publishing Suburban Street, when you would have really good voter turnouts in the city. People were interested. What has happened? I mean, my gag is that Stalin had more opposition than the current administration does in White Plains.
Yeah, he had to resort to.
What is are we seeing here? Is this apathy which has come to the fore as a result of the Republican Party atrophying here in the city of White Plains? Is it that the population has shifted so dramatically here in the city of White Plains? What is at the root of this incredible lack of interest in what goes on here?
Lack of local coverage.
Could that be part of it? Could it be that we have seen the decline of the local newspaper, not only in Westchester and White Plains, but throughout the country?
Yes. Well, anyway, let's take a look at the results. Nadine Hunt Robinson, top vote getter. followed by Dennis Crolian, second, and Milagros Luquona, third, and Anne-Marie Encarnaco finished the distant third, and of course
Fourth.
She was the Republican candidate, the sole Republican candidate.
Right.
And actually, I finished a distant fifth. I understand I got a couple of write-in votes, but I don't think they were actually counted.
Yes, about the other 30,000 or so of you could have written in Mr. Katz if you wanted, or me, or Jim. Think about that. I mean, it would be fun.
Well,
now,
Ernie Davis, the former mayor of Mount Vernon, actually tried to run a write-in campaign, and he failed at that. Richard Thomas, who had ousted him in the Democratic Party, Thomas is a council person there, won the mayoral election in Mount Vernon.
We'll see what happens next.
On the county legislature, we had unopposed.
Next slide.
We had an unopposed, right?
Next slide. On the county, the Republicans picked up another seat. 9 Democrats and 8 Republicans will make up the new county legislature. And 2 new legislators were elected. Francis Corcoran, a Republican in District 2, and Margaret Cunzio, District 3, which is Robert Estorino's district.
And basically, the incumbents who ran unopposed.
Right.
Ben Boykin,
that's half of
among
them. More than half had no opposition. That is a disgrace in the USA. It really is. And now, next, the Proposition 1 passed.
This was on the back of the ballot. You had to know it was there or be told that it was there.
And Benjamin Boykin in the next slide, who was one of the unopposed legislators, and of course won, he told me that Proposition 1 was passed with the capital budget moved up to October 15th for submission, and the regular big budget only moved up to November the 10th.
For years, critics have been saying, why is it that these budgets are only made public after an election? Why don't we know what the spending plan is before the election? Well, so this was sort of a compromise way, to use a genteel term, of dealing with that, of making it appear as if they were adding a little more transparency to the budget process. What it does, in part, it requires that the capital budget be disclosed.
Which is only about
before
12% of the budget.
So that has to be disclosed before. The rest of the budget can be kept quiet until after the election.
And they can add more projects to it if they want. Whereas Matt Richter, who handles media for the Board of Legislators, said it was decided that if you made the general budget to be released before the election, it would become too political and wouldn't be a really honest.
It's a shame to have things become political in politics.
Political. I'm shocked things might get political. Shocked, aren't you?
Yes.
I mean, they should have made it both presented. The only caveat you could say is that, well, we don't really have a handle on our sales tax and what the taxes are really going to be. They could have said that.
Anyway, we still have to look forward to a presidential election. That should get a few more people out next year, hopefully. This week, the big story, of course, is with the Republicans, and as they all jockey for position, and it looks as if Donald Trump is remaining in the number 2 position, with Ben Carson as the leader, according to the polls. And Chris Christie of New Jersey may not make it into the next debate.
He won't. They say. He's not going to be
falling in the polls.
Right.
That was on the radio.
Now, we had an interesting story that was told us by one of our readers, and that was that the AAA actually awarded White Plains a public safety award.
This is the
Platinum Award,
Automobile Club
right?
of America, right?
Yes.
Yep.
And the award was presented to Tom Soik there, and Captain Nick Kralik and Sergeant Marco Garcet of the White Plains Police Department. And what was interesting about the press release on this was that they congratulated White Plains on dropping red light accidents 33%. So it stunned me because we understand the red light cameras are going to prevent all these horrible red light accidents, but they dropped them 33%.
When this was first presented by Mayor Roach, he indicated that we had a serious safety problem at red light intersections here in the city of White Plains, and these red light cameras were going to solve that problem. So now we find out that the record of safety here in the city of White Plains at red light intersections is darn good.
Down a third. And I'm telling you.
Just think, when they put in the red light cameras, I guarantee you the accidents at red lights will increase.
Well, they do.
Up.
If you look nationwide at the statistics, rear-end accidents do increase when red light cameras are put into place.
Yes, right. And now, a very fast look at what happened at the Common Council on Monday night, and we've strung a series of very pungent clips.
Yeah, there are about seven or so different topics covered here.
Right, and we will be kicking it off with Frank Williams getting an award from the city for his great service
30 years
to the city,
of service.
30 years. And then Dennis Crolian talks about the effort to negotiate finally with Cablevision. And then Mr. Kirkpatrick.
Cablevision is being bought out by a company called Altice.
Yes.
And as part of it, the city has to transfer the franchise agreement to the new company, so it has to agree on that. But behind this move here in White Plains is that for several years, the city has been without a current contract.
Since 2003. Not several years.
With Cablevision.
They haven't touched this whole issue.
Several years.
And now, and then the next clip you would see would be James Kirkpatrick. I can't get his name right. Talking about the White Plains Pavilion plan and their lowering of affordable units, and then the mayor will respond to that, and also we'll wrap it up with the announcement of the new training center at the new Winbrook thing. So here we go. Fasten your seatbelt.
Well deserved. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor, members of the Common Council, and to the City of White Plains. Almost 29 years of serving White Plains kids, and I've seen the transition of our young people as they transition to youth to adulthood, and I'd like to say that we are all in this together. John Callahan, our staff, Mr. Carter in the office, we really all are working together to help to make sure that our young people reach their fullest potential. So thank you, City of White Plains, our Mayor and Common Council. Thank you so very much.
The retention of special counsel to negotiate the renewal of the franchise agreement in connection with the Cablevision's anticipated transfer to Altice. I'm informed that the PEG money, which is the public education government money, may exceed $500,000 to the city. My hope is that we will improve our contract and provide funds for technological improvements, new equipment, and the relocation of the commission and its studio from its present rented premises to the first floor of the library, hopefully next to the proposed cafe. With our recent allocation of funds for a consultant and the recently announced gift of $1 million to the Library Foundation, I hope we will keep pace with the overall library vision of the hub to improve services provided to the public. Tonight's action is one step in a process that began many, many years ago, and I hope we will now move expeditiously to implement this project. Thank you.
Councilman Crow. There's a new concern, however, that I wanted to make sure everybody was aware of, and unless I'm mistaken, the number of affordable housing units has now been cut in half, from 71 to 36. Now, I don't think we should be reducing the number of affordable housing units from a 10% to a 5% with a project that's building over 700 units. But this matter is just on the agenda tonight for referral to appropriate city departments and boards for review and comments. I'm very much looking forward to seeing those comments, and also I assume we will have a public hearing on this and further discussion, so I'm keeping my ears open.
Well, just so people understand, it's just being referred out for review by the boards and commissions, and they'll come back with reports, and then we really get to work on it. But I believe the attorney for the developers here, and I do believe you may be in error about what you said about affordable housing.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just for the record, just to respond to Mr. Kirkpatrick's concerns, the ordinance provides that affordable housing needs to be provided at 10% of the number of units, but at an 80 to 100% of the Westchester median family income. The ordinance for White Plains also provides that if you're willing to reduce it to 60% of Westchester median family income, you can trade 2 for 1s. You can essentially reduce it to 5%. So in doing so, you're making it open for people more in need of affordable housing, and that's the incentive provided by this council and the city, and we were looking to address that. I know that there are a number of projects. You're right that numerically the number of affordable units dropped. It dropped in accordance with what your provisions set forth.
What's tough right now in the market, we have a lot of 80% of median coming on, and that's why that was created, because 60% is going to be that's going to be a sweet spot for, and it's going to provide housing for people that are not currently able to afford the affordable units.
And particularly, and I know, Mr. Kirkpatrick, you're familiar with this, but median family income, where you have 2 working adults, you can end up 80 to 100%. You can end up with $90,000 to $100,000 as being the threshold in Westchester, and that means that there are many working couples who are in need of help who don't qualify under the affordable housing provision, even though they may well need help with housing. So the idea is to enable people who have a lower median family income also to be able to participate. Thank you.
Yes, Councilwoman Lacona.
Mr. Mayor, I think that this is more a question for us, the administration, and us. Yes, the numbers are right, but we need to know if it's right for White Plains. So, and I know that this is a referral, but it would be good to go through the exercise to know what we really need in White Plains. Because not only just as a citywide, but that location, that particular location, if it makes sense to have more units than less units for less medium income. So it needs to be an exercise being made there. We need to do the homework and find out what we really need.
That's what we need to do. We do it with every project, because we have projects that come in that will put a 2 or 3 bedroom unit in and then have to build fewer units, because we look at our inventory and say we have an excess of studios and we need more 2 bedrooms or whatever. So this is exactly what we would like to do, is make sure that whatever we do fits in with where the shortage is.
We as service providers are always evolving to meet the needs of our community, and in an effort to service the entire community, a partnership was formed between the White Plains Housing Authority, the City of White Plains, and the Youth Bureau. From this union, the White Plains Education and Training Center was birthed. The training center will offer a full range of education and training programs for adults from White Plains and throughout the region. The estimated opening is January 2016, and it will have state-of-the-art teaching facilities that will include industrial teaching kitchens with 10 student stations, a computer classroom, multi-purposes rooms. We are really investing in the underemployed and unemployed. It's about jobs, jobs, jobs. As I said, the primary target population of the unemployed and underemployed, with goals of increasing employability through training for real-time job opportunities in today's market. The areas that we're focusing on: technology, healthcare, hospitality, and entrepreneurship. So those are the key areas that we are estimating continued economic growth. So we want to gear people towards the areas of continued economic growth. Our partners will include the Culinary Tech Center, Southern Westchester Boise's, Westchester Community College, and others. And it's all about providing educational and training services. Jobs, jobs, jobs.
What Nadine Hunt Robinson was talking about there was a facility at the new building, which has been under construction at Winbrook, which was due to open last July and now is going to be opening in January. So we hear, although we don't know when and if people will be moving in to live there.
Filled.
Yeah.
And there was not mentioned anything in the council meeting about that.
Also the attorney who you saw speaking on the Pavilion's affordable housing units is a guy named Bill Null with the firm of Cuddy and Fader, and he's been a familiar face in White Plains development for decades, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah. So on that Kirkpatrick clip about the pavilion, you feel it's a good idea to cut the number of units?
To cut the affordable units?
Yes.
Well, I think they're doing what the law says they can do.
Yeah, that's
they're
right.
making it
But it is a good
available
idea.
to more lower income people, and I think that there are probably a larger, I think it's almost self-evident that there are a larger number of more lower income people that need housing than the...
Well, there's another issue which is going to come to the surface pretty soon, and that's affordable water.
Yeah.
Because one thing they're doing, they're going to be raising the water rates here in White Plains. 8%, is it?
Yeah.
Yes. Once you use 5,000 cubic feet, which is a family of around 4 or 5, we are only 2, so we stay under at 2,500 cubic feet.
That's all you use?
Yeah.
Oh, you don't flush or take showers. Okay.
Well,
that's
it's my
interesting.
understanding that the cost of water all over the country.
Yeah, well, they buy it from New York City, basically, and the system.
You know,
through the
I
Kensico
also
Reservoir.
think that we're talking about what is the famous oil pipeline they're talking about?
The Keystone Pipeline. That
Keystone
essentially
Pipeline.
is dead at this point.
We ought to have a water pipeline, and when we have
desalinization.
when we have these huge rainstorms, if there was some way to accumulate that water and send it.
Actually, you know, that's a really interesting thought, and they're trying to do that to a certain extent on what are called the lead buildings, where you try to capture rainwater. Okay. But actually, it's interesting that the water increase is announced at the same time that we're told that the water we're buying does not meet federal standards under the Safe Drinking Water Act.
Well, I think they just changed those standards.
That's right. There are now new standards, and so the Westchester County Water District, which handles the water
government
supply,
had standards.
really does not treat the water to comply with the new standards to do away with cryptosporidium, which is a little organism found in the water. The water still is safe to drink, and they hope to be in compliance with the new federal requirements in about 3 years.
Right. Meanwhile, the Salvation Army is looking for bell ringers. If we can have that
That
slide.
ought to ring the bell.
Right. And just go to www.registertoring.com for more information. And there is a movie shoot going on in White Plains on Macy Avenue. Girl on the Train is being shot there. And I will see you on WVOX.
On the radio.
Right. John
Good night.
Bailey.
White Plains Week has been a presentation of White Plains Citizen Net Reporter, WPCNR.com, in cooperation with Channel 76. Comments may be emailed to WPCNR@AOL.com. The copyrighted print White Plains Cityscape by Leonard Weber is used courtesy of the White Plains Presbyterian Church. For information on its availability, you may contact the church at 761-8585. The views and opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants. White Plains Week is presented Fridays at 7:30 and again on Mondays at 7 p.m. here on Channel 76. For White Plains Week, this is Seth Benerofe speaking.